The Cleaning Lady's Revenge, a millionaire's daughter fights for justice. William Spencer, a compassionate millionaire known for his generosity, had built a life of success and security. But his world crumbled when betrayal struck from within. His fiancée, Olivia, orchestrated a cruel scheme, embezzling his fortune and staging his tragic death to cover her tracks. To make matters worse, she abandoned William's young daughter, Rachel, leaving her helpless on the streets. But this is not just a story of loss, it is one of resilience and redemption. Rachel, taken in by a kind-hearted cleaning lady named Marjorie, grows up fueled by two things: the values of love and honesty instilled by her adoptive mother and an unrelenting drive to seek justice for her father. As Rachel rises from humble beginnings to become a successful entrepreneur, she devises a daring plan to confront Olivia and expose her lies. Will this self-made millionaire's daughter succeed in reclaiming justice, or will the scars of betrayal prove too deep to heal? Follow this gripping tale of love, revenge, and redemption to uncover how one woman's determination changes everything. What would you do if everything you loved was stolen from you? Stay tuned to find out. The grand estate of William Spencer was the embodiment of success. The sprawling gardens were meticulously maintained, the marble fountains sparkled under the sun, and the hallways of the mansion echoed with elegance. William, a tall man with sharp features and a kind smile, was known not just for his wealth but for his generosity. Beneath the polished surface of his millionaire lifestyle, he was a man who valued trust, love, and family above all else. But trust, as he would soon learn, could be a dangerous thing. The morning was crisp and clear as William stood by the window of his study, sipping his coffee. Across the room, Olivia, his fiancée, exuded sophistication in a sleek emerald dress. Her eyes, however, held a calculating gleam. She had an air of confidence, a charisma that drew people to her, but beneath the charm lay a web of deceit. "Darling," Olivia said, her voice smooth as silk. "I've taken care of the final details for our overseas investment. Everything is in place." William smiled warmly, unaware of the storm brewing behind her words. "I trust you with everything, Olivia. You've always had a knack for these things." Her lips curved into a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Always," she replied, her tone barely masking her true intentions. Unbeknownst to William, Olivia had been siphoning funds from his accounts, transferring them to offshore holdings under her name. It wasn't just about money, it was about control, power, and her relentless ambition. She saw William's kindness as weakness and his trust as a vulnerability to exploit. Later that evening, William found himself in the study again, his hands trembling as he reviewed the bank statements. The numbers didn't add up. His fortune, built on years of hard work and ethical business practices, was disappearing. "Olivia," he called out, his voice steady but laced with suspicion. She appeared in the doorway, her demeanor cool. "Yes, darling." "What is this?" he demanded, holding up the documents. "These transfers, this can't be right. Did you know about this?" Her expression didn't falter. "William, you're overreacting. It's just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" His voice rose, the weight of betrayal crashing down on him. "You've been stealing from me. How could you?" Olivia's facade cracked for a moment, revealing a flicker of irritation. "You're too naive, William. You've always been." "I did what I had to do." "What you had to do?" William's heart pounded. "You used me, Olivia. I trusted you." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a cold whisper. "And that was your mistake." Before he could react, Olivia shoved him. The sudden force sent him tumbling backward, his footing slipping on the polished hardwood floor. Time seemed to slow as he fell, the edge of the staircase looming. The impact was sharp, the world spinning into darkness as he crashed to the bottom. When William's body was discovered, Olivia wept convincingly, painting a picture of a tragic accident. She stood by the paramedics, her hand on her chest, tears streaming down her face. "It all happened so quickly," she sobbed. "I couldn't save him." The world mourned the loss of William Spencer, the millionaire who had touched so many lives. But behind closed doors, Olivia reveled in her victory. She had not only escaped suspicion but also gained control of what remained of William's wealth. However, there was one loose end she hadn't anticipated: Rachel, William's 10-year-old daughter from his first marriage. Rachel, with her father's dark hair and intelligent eyes, was a bright, curious child. She had adored William and spent countless hours in his study, asking questions about his work and learning from his wisdom. But now, she was alone. Olivia saw Rachel as an inconvenience, a threat to her carefully constructed plan. One rainy evening, she packed a small bag for the girl, filled it with basic necessities, and drove her to the outskirts of the city. "You'll be fine," Olivia said curtly as she pushed Rachel out of the car. "Someone will take care of you." Rachel stood in the rain, clutching the bag to her chest, her tears mixing with the downpour. She watched as Olivia's car disappeared into the distance, leaving her in the cold, unfamiliar streets. The city was overwhelming. The bright lights, honking cars, and unfamiliar faces blurred together as Rachel wandered aimlessly, her heart heavy with grief and confusion. She had lost everything: her father, her home, and the only sense of security she had ever known. Hours later, as the rain began to let up, Rachel collapsed on a bench in a small park. She was soaked to the bone, her small frame shivering. That's when she heard a soft, soothing voice. "Sweetheart, are you all right?" Rachel looked up to see a woman with warm eyes and a gentle smile. She wore a simple coat and carried a worn tote bag filled with cleaning supplies. "My name's Marjorie," the woman said, crouching down to Rachel's level. "You look like you've been through a lot. Where's your family?" Rachel's lips trembled as she whispered, "I don't have anyone." Marjorie's heart broke at the sight of the young girl. Without hesitation, she reached out her hand. "Come with me. Let's get you somewhere safe." Marjorie lived in a modest apartment, its walls adorned with photos of loved ones and cheerful decorations. She was a cleaning lady who worked tirelessly to make ends meet, but she never let her circumstances dampen her spirit. She welcomed Rachel into her home, offering her dry clothes, a warm meal, and a sense of comfort Rachel hadn't felt since her father's death. As Rachel sat at the small kitchen table, sipping hot cocoa, she looked at Marjorie with wide eyes. "Why are you helping me?" Marjorie smiled softly. "Because everyone deserves someone who cares. And right now, you need that." For the first time in days, Rachel felt a glimmer of hope. She didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, she realized she wasn't alone. In the warmth of Marjorie's home, Rachel made a silent promise to herself: she would honor her father's memory, rebuild her life, and one day, bring the woman who destroyed her family to justice. Marjorie's modest apartment became a sanctuary for Rachel, a place where warmth replaced the coldness of betrayal and love filled the void left by her father's death. The apartment, though small, was alive with a sense of belonging. Its walls, adorned with faded floral wallpaper, bore framed pictures of Marjorie's family and inspirational quotes like, "Where there's love, there's hope." Rachel, still reeling from the trauma of losing her father, began to adapt to this new life. Marjorie, with her steady hands and soft-spoken wisdom, treated Rachel like her own daughter. She cooked hearty meals, mended Rachel's clothes, and stayed up late to comfort her during the nightmares that often left her trembling. One evening, as they sat together at the kitchen table, Marjorie placed a hand over Rachel's. "You don't have to talk about it yet," she said gently. "But when you're ready, I'm here to listen." Rachel nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you." For weeks, Rachel struggled with grief and guilt. She missed her father's reassuring smile and the way he used to call her "little star." But Marjorie's unwavering kindness began to chip away at the walls she had built around her heart. Life with Marjorie was simple but full of lessons. Rachel accompanied her to cleaning jobs, helping with small tasks like dusting shelves or organizing supplies. They often walked to their destinations, passing through bustling city streets filled with the chatter of vendors and the distant hum of traffic. One day, as they cleaned the lobby of an office building, Rachel asked, "Marjorie, why do you work so hard? Don't you ever get tired?" Marjorie chuckled, wiping her hands on her apron. "Of course I do, sweetheart. But hard work teaches you what's important. It shows you that even when life knocks you down, you can always get back up." Rachel pondered her words, feeling a newfound respect for Marjorie's resilience. For the first time, she began to see strength not as something grand or flashy, but as the quiet determination to keep going. As months turned into years, Rachel grew into a bright, determined teenager. She excelled in school, her natural intelligence and curiosity shining through. Her teachers often praised her for her discipline and perseverance, traits she credited to Marjorie. Marjorie, ever proud, encouraged Rachel to dream big. "You have a gift, Rachel," she often said. "Use it to make the world a better place." But as Rachel blossomed academically, the scars of her past lingered. She couldn't forget the night Olivia abandoned her, nor the look of betrayal on her father's face when he discovered Olivia's deceit. These memories fueled a quiet, burning resolve within her, a desire for justice, not revenge. One evening, as they shared a modest dinner of soup and bread, Rachel finally opened up about her past. "Marjorie," she began hesitantly, "there's something I need to tell you." Marjorie set down her spoon, her expression attentive. "What is it, sweetheart?" Rachel took a deep breath. "My father, he was William Spencer." Marjorie's eyes widened. "The William Spencer? The millionaire?" Rachel nodded, her voice trembling. "He was betrayed by someone he trusted. She killed him and took everything. And she abandoned me." Marjorie reached across the table, her grip firm but comforting. "Rachel, I had no idea. I'm so sorry for what you've been through." Tears filled Rachel's eyes as she continued. "I've tried to move on, but I can't. I need to make things right, for him, for us." Marjorie's gaze softened. "Then we'll find a way. But remember, justice isn't about anger, it's about truth." Fueled by Marjorie's words, Rachel focused her energy on building a future where she could make a difference. She worked tirelessly to earn scholarships, attending prestigious schools where she excelled in business and finance. Her education became more than just a path to success, it was a means to an end. She learned the intricacies of financial systems, understanding how people like Olivia manipulated them. Every lesson, every late-night study session brought her one step closer to her goal. When Rachel graduated with honors, Marjorie was there, clapping the loudest in the audience. Dressed in her cap and gown, Rachel spotted Marjorie in the crowd and felt a wave of gratitude. After the ceremony, Marjorie embraced her tightly. "Your father would be so proud of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Rachel nodded, her eyes shining. "This is just the beginning, Marjorie. I'm going to honor him, and you, by using everything I've learned." Rachel's rise in the business world was swift but hard-earned. She started her own company, Clark & Spencer Enterprises, a nod to both Marjorie and her father. The early days were challenging, investors doubted her, competitors underestimated her, and she faced countless setbacks. But Rachel's determination never wavered. Marjorie, now in her golden years, watched proudly from the sidelines. She often reminded Rachel to balance ambition with compassion. "Success is empty if you don't use it to help others," she would say. Rachel took those words to heart, incorporating social initiatives into her company's mission. She funded scholarships, supported small businesses, and created programs for underprivileged children. Through her work, she kept Marjorie's values alive. Despite her accomplishments, Rachel never forgot her true purpose. Olivia remained a shadow in her mind, a symbol of the justice Rachel still sought. She began quietly investigating Olivia's whereabouts, piecing together the fragments of her past. One evening, Rachel sat at her desk, a stack of documents spread before her. She traced Olivia's trail, discovering that she had remarried a wealthy businessman and was living comfortably in a lavish estate. Rachel's jaw tightened as she stared at the evidence. She knew what she had to do. Turning to a photo of her father on the desk, she whispered, "This is for you, Dad. And for Marjorie. I'll make things right." Rachel's path was clear. Armed with her skills, her determination, and the lessons Marjorie had taught her, she prepared to confront the woman who had destroyed her family. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Rachel was ready. Justice was no longer a distant dream, it was within her grasp. Rachel's ascent in the business world was nothing short of remarkable. Clark & Spencer Enterprises, her burgeoning company, quickly gained a reputation for its innovative strategies and social impact initiatives. While her success seemed meteoric, every step was built on sleepless nights, unwavering determination, and the values instilled by Marjorie. Her office, perched on the 25th floor of a sleek downtown building, overlooked the city, a symbol of how far she had come. Yet, behind her poised demeanor and professional achievements, Rachel's focus remained razor-sharp on a single goal: finding Olivia and exposing the truth. One late evening, as Rachel pored over financial reports, her phone buzzed. It was a message from a private investigator she had hired months earlier. Olivia Parker confirmed. Resides in Lexington Manor with her second husband, Edward Parker, CEO of Parker Holdings. Rachel's breath hitched. After years of searching, she finally had a lead. She stared at the name Edward Parker. He was a prominent businessman, widely admired for his philanthropy. If only he knew the truth about Olivia. She sat back in her chair, her mind racing. Olivia had clawed her way into another life of luxury, built on lies and betrayal. Rachel clenched her fists, her jaw tightening. It wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about justice. For her father. For herself. For every person Olivia had wronged. Rachel spent the following weeks meticulously researching Olivia's life. Every detail, from her social connections to her financial dealings, was logged into a thick binder. Through her investigation, she discovered a pattern of fraud. Olivia had been funneling money from Edward's accounts into offshore holdings, much like she had done with William. The realization hit Rachel like a lightning bolt. Olivia hadn't changed, she was still the same ruthless, deceitful woman. But this time, Rachel was prepared. She crafted a plan as carefully as she had built her company, knowing one wrong move could unravel everything. The plan involved infiltration. Rachel needed to get close to Olivia without raising suspicion, and the answer came to her in the form of Marjorie's teachings. The world often overlooked those who cleaned, served, or worked quietly in the background. Rachel decided to use that invisibility to her advantage. One evening, as she and Marjorie sat together in their modest kitchen, Rachel shared her idea. "Marjorie," she began, her tone serious, "I've found Olivia." Marjorie's hands stilled over her cup of tea. "You have?" Rachel nodded. "She's remarried, living in a mansion, and, just like before, she's stealing from someone who trusts her. I can't let her keep getting away with this." Marjorie's eyes softened with concern. "What are you planning to do, Rachel?" Rachel hesitated. "I'm going to become a cleaning lady. Just like you taught me, Marjorie. I'll get close enough to gather evidence." Marjorie's expression shifted to one of pride, though it was tinged with worry. "It's dangerous, Rachel. But if anyone can do it, it's you. Just promise me you'll be careful." "I will," Rachel assured her. "And I'll make sure Olivia faces the consequences." Rachel transformed herself into Virginia Clark, a quiet, unassuming cleaning lady with no ties to her real identity. She dyed her dark hair a lighter shade, donned simple, worn clothes, and adopted a softer demeanor. Armed with forged references and a fabricated backstory, she applied for a position at Lexington Manor. When Olivia met her during the interview, Rachel felt a surge of emotion, anger, grief, and determination all at once. Olivia, elegant as ever, exuded an air of entitlement. Her hair was perfectly styled, and her jewelry sparkled under the chandelier light. But her eyes, Rachel noticed, carried a flicker of paranoia. "You've worked as a cleaner for how long?" Olivia asked, her voice clipped as she flipped through Rachel's references. "About 5 years," Rachel replied, keeping her tone meek. "I've worked in homes like this before. I'm very detail-oriented." Olivia gave a curt nod. "Fine. You start tomorrow. Don't touch anything without asking." "Yes, ma'am," Rachel said, lowering her gaze to hide the fire in her eyes. Rachel's days at Lexington Manor were grueling but strategic. She moved quietly, cleaning rooms while observing Olivia's behavior. Over time, she began piecing together clues, suspicious phone calls, hidden files in Olivia's office, and a safe tucked away in the study. Olivia's husband, Edward, was kind and oblivious, often thanking Rachel for her hard work. It was clear he had no idea his wife was siphoning funds from their joint accounts. Rachel felt a pang of sympathy for him. He reminded her of her father. One evening, as Rachel cleaned Olivia's study, she discovered a ledger tucked beneath a false drawer. Its pages were filled with numbers and transactions that mirrored the fraudulent activities she had uncovered years ago. Her heart raced as she snapped photos of the pages with a hidden camera. "I've got you now," she whispered under her breath. But just as she returned the ledger to its hiding place, the door creaked open. Olivia stood there, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. "What are you doing?" Olivia demanded. Rachel's mind raced. I was just dusting," she stammered, holding up a cloth. "This drawer was slightly open, so I thought." "Stay out of my things," Olivia snapped, her suspicion evident. "You're here to clean, not snoop." "Yes, ma'am," Rachel said, lowering her head. But inside, she knew the clock was ticking. Olivia was growing suspicious, and her window of opportunity was closing. That night, Rachel reviewed the evidence she had gathered so far. She had bank statements, ledgers, and photos that painted a clear picture of Olivia's crimes. But it wasn't enough to take her down. She needed something irrefutable, something public. Her plan crystallized as she stared at an invitation she had found earlier that day, a charity gala hosted by Edward and Olivia. The event would be packed with influential guests, reporters, and potential witnesses. "This is it," Rachel thought. "I'll expose her in front of everyone." The days leading up to the gala were tense. Olivia grew more irritable, snapping at the staff and pacing the halls. Rachel kept her head down, playing her part while preparing for the confrontation. She knew the risks. If Olivia discovered her true identity, the consequences could be dire. But Rachel also knew she couldn't turn back. For her father, for Marjorie, and for every victim Olivia had wronged, she had to see this through. As the night of the gala approached, Rachel stood before the mirror in her small apartment, adjusting her modest dress. Her reflection stared back, determined and resolute. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "everything changes." The night of the gala arrived, and Lexington Manor was alive with activity. The grand hall glittered with crystal chandeliers and lavish decor. Guests in elegant attire mingled, their laughter mingling with the soft hum of a live string quartet. It was a picture-perfect event meant to display wealth and sophistication, and Olivia thrived in this environment, her every movement exuding control and charm. But Rachel, disguised as Virginia, had different plans for the evening. Dressed in her usual uniform, Rachel moved quietly among the bustling staff, blending seamlessly into the background. Her hair was tied back, and she carried a tray of champagne flutes, using her position to observe the crowd and finalize her plan. The evidence she had painstakingly collected was ready, a carefully curated presentation of documents, ledgers, and bank statements that outlined Olivia's years of deceit. Rachel's target wasn't just Olivia, it was the room full of powerful guests who could ensure justice was served. As the night progressed, Rachel noticed Olivia standing at the center of attention, a vision of elegance in a midnight blue gown. She smiled graciously at her guests, her laugh light and melodic. But Rachel, watching from a distance, saw through the facade. Olivia's eyes darted nervously around the room, her fingers occasionally tightening around her champagne glass. Rachel's observations over the past few weeks had confirmed what she suspected: Olivia was growing increasingly paranoid. Whether it was intuition or her own guilt, Olivia seemed to sense that the walls were closing in. Near the end of the evening, Edward Parker, Olivia's unsuspecting husband, stepped onto the stage to deliver a speech. A tall, distinguished man with silver hair and kind eyes, he addressed the room with warmth and sincerity. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," Edward began, his voice steady. "This charity gala is not just a celebration of generosity but a reminder of our collective responsibility to do good in the world." The audience applauded, and Olivia stood beside Edward, her smile poised but strained. Rachel felt a pang of sympathy for Edward, who clearly adored his wife and remained blind to her treachery. Edward continued, "My wife, Olivia, has been instrumental in organizing this event. Her dedication to helping others is truly inspiring." Rachel clenched her fists, the words stoking her resolve. It was time to reveal the truth. As Edward concluded his speech, Rachel approached the stage, her heart pounding. The evidence she had gathered was loaded onto a USB drive and safely tucked into her pocket. She stopped in front of the stage and addressed Edward, her voice calm but firm. "Mr. Parker, I need to speak with you," Rachel said, projecting confidence despite the tension in the room. Edward looked puzzled but stepped down from the stage to meet her. "Yes. Is something wrong?" "I'm sorry to interrupt your evening," Rachel began, "but I have information about Olivia that you need to see. It's urgent." Before Edward could respond, Olivia's voice cut through the room like a knife. "Virginia! What on earth are you doing?" The guests turned their attention to the commotion, their murmurs growing louder. Olivia descended the stage with a furious expression, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "Edward, don't listen to her," Olivia said, her voice laced with panic. "She's just a cleaning lady trying to stir up trouble." Rachel met Olivia's gaze, her own unwavering. "I may be a cleaning lady, but I'm also someone who believes in justice. And tonight, the truth is coming out." Rachel pulled out the USB drive and handed it to Edward. "This contains evidence of Olivia's financial fraud. She's been embezzling money from your accounts and hiding it in offshore accounts, just as she did to my father, William Spencer." The room fell silent, the name William Spencer echoing like a thunderclap. Gasps rippled through the crowd as recognition dawned on their faces. Edward stared at Rachel, his confusion deepening. "Your father was William Spencer?" "Yes," Rachel said, her voice steady despite the emotion welling up inside her. "Olivia betrayed him, stole his fortune, and left him to die. And now, she's doing the same to you." Olivia's composure cracked. "This is ridiculous. She's lying." "Edward, don't believe a word she says." But Edward's expression darkened as he connected the dots. He turned to Olivia, his voice cold. "Is this true?" "Of course not." Olivia protested, but her voice wavered. "She's trying to ruin us." Rachel pulled out printed copies of the documents as the guests closed in, their whispers growing louder. "The evidence is all here," Rachel said, handing the papers to Edward. "Bank transfers, ledgers, everything." Edward's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. His face paled, the betrayal sinking in. "How could you?" Edward asked, his voice breaking. "I trusted you." The chaos that followed was swift. Reporters, drawn by the drama, captured every moment as the police arrived, alerted by Rachel in advance. Olivia's protests grew desperate as officers approached her. You can't do this. Olivia shrieked, her carefully constructed image shattering. I'm innocent. But the evidence was irrefutable. As Olivia was led away in handcuffs, the crowd parted, their faces a mix of shock and condemnation. Edward turned to Rachel, his eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow. Thank you for telling me the truth. I can't believe I didn't see it sooner. Rachel nodded, her voice soft. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. My father didn't get justice, but tonight, we did. As the guests dispersed, Rachel stood in the now quiet hall, the weight of the evening settling on her shoulders. She had achieved what she set out to do, but the journey had been exhausting. Marjorie's words echoed in her mind, justice isn't about anger, it's about truth. Rachel knew she had honored her father's memory and Marjorie's teachings. But this wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. The days following the gala were a whirlwind of consequences and revelations. Olivia, now exposed as a fraud and a murderer, faced an intense investigation. The evidence Rachel had provided was overwhelming, and Olivia's desperate attempts to deny her crimes only deepened her guilt in the eyes of the law. In court, Rachel sat in the gallery, her hands clasped tightly as she listened to the proceedings. Olivia, once poised and untouchable, now appeared disheveled, her polished facade shattered. Prosecutors presented the stolen funds, the offshore accounts, and the chain of deceit that linked Olivia's actions to William Spencer's tragic death. The most damning evidence came from Edward Parker himself. Once her staunch defender, Edward took the stand and confirmed Olivia's betrayal. She deceived me, just as she deceived William, he said, his voice steady but filled with sorrow. I believed in her, but all she cared about was money and power. When the verdict was announced, guilty on all counts, with a 15-year prison sentence, Rachel felt a mix of relief and melancholy. Justice had been served, but the scars left by Olivia's actions would take time to heal. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Rachel, cameras flashing as they shouted questions. She raised a hand to quiet them and spoke with the same poise she had shown throughout her journey. This isn't just about my father or me, Rachel said. It's about the countless people who have been wronged by greed and betrayal. Justice is possible, but it requires courage, perseverance, and, most importantly, the support of those who believe in doing what's right. I hope this serves as a reminder that the truth always comes to light. Her words were broadcast widely, earning praise and admiration from viewers around the world. In the weeks that followed, Rachel found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. She visited Marjorie's apartment, now a quieter place as Marjorie entered her retirement years. Marjorie greeted Rachel with a warm smile, pulling her into a tight hug. You did it, sweetheart, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Your father would be so proud of you. Rachel nodded, her eyes misting. I couldn't have done it without you, Marjorie. You gave me a second chance at life and taught me what it means to be strong. Marjorie patted her hand. And now, it's your turn to pass that strength on to others. Inspired by Marjorie's wisdom, Rachel decided to expand her business to include a foundation in her father's and Marjorie's honor. The Clark and Spencer Foundation focused on helping underprivileged youth, funding scholarships, and supporting initiatives that champion truth and justice. Rachel also began mentoring young women, sharing her story to inspire others to rise above adversity. Success isn't about where you start, she often told them. It's about where you're willing to go and the integrity you carry along the way. Meanwhile, Edward Parker partnered with Rachel to create a new business initiative aimed at promoting ethical practices in the corporate world. Their collaboration became a symbol of resilience and redemption, showing that even after betrayal, there could be growth and renewal. One sunny afternoon, Rachel visited the cemetery where her father was buried. She knelt by his gravestone, tracing the letters of his name with her fingers. I did it, Dad, she whispered. I made sure she paid for what she did to you. But more importantly, I've built something that I think you'd be proud of, something that will help others, just like you always wanted. As the breeze rustled through the trees, Rachel felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She stood, her resolve stronger than ever, and walked away with a heart full of purpose. The story of Rachel Spencer became one of inspiration, a tale of resilience, justice, and the unyielding power of truth. Through her journey, she transformed her pain into purpose, building a legacy that honored her father and the values Marjorie had instilled in her. What would you do if faced with betrayal and loss? Would you find the courage to fight for justice, or let the weight of the past hold you down? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of courage, redemption, and hope. Together, let's celebrate the strength that comes from overcoming life's toughest challenges. The journey of Rachel Spencer is more than just a tale of revenge, it's a testament to the unyielding power of resilience, love, and integrity. Despite being betrayed, abandoned, and left to rebuild her life from nothing, Rachel's determination to honor her father's memory and seek justice carried her through unimaginable challenges. Her story reminds us that no matter how deep the betrayal or how heavy the burden, it is possible to rise above adversity. With the love and guidance of Marjorie, Rachel transformed her pain into purpose, proving that even the darkest moments can be the foundation for a brighter future. This story also highlights the importance of standing up for what is right, no matter the cost. Justice may not come easily, but Rachel's courage shows that the truth will always prevail. And through her actions, she not only brought peace to her father's memory but also created a legacy that will continue to inspire and uplift others for generations. What did Rachel's journey teach you about resilience and justice? Have you ever faced a challenge that required you to fight for what's right? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you found Rachel's story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of courage, redemption, and hope. Together, let's continue to celebrate the strength of the human spirit and the triumph of truth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.